Hello guys! People following the World Cup, most of them know that Qatar has built a huge number of stadiums, specifically to host the championship matches, namely Al Bayt Stadium, which hosted the opening match, Education City Stadium, Al Janoub Stadium, Ahmed bin Ali Stadium, Al Thumama Stadium, Khalifa International Stadium, and finally Stadium 974. The stadium is being built over several years and billions of dollars have been spent over several years. But it's strange that these stadiums will be dismantled after the World Cup and it will be removed from its place. So why is Qatar doing this, and where will be the building materials go after this removal? Hello, but before we start, if you are not a subscriber to the channel, subscribe and like, then ring the bell to reach you the new videos. In 2010, Qatar was chosen by the International Football Federation to host the tournament in 2020, and Qatar was not ready, as it had only the Khalifa International Stadium, located in Doha since 1976. Because it was required of them that they build a new set of stadiums, they decided to build 7 new stadiums next to the Khalifa International Stadium, which was completely expanded and developed. But before they built the stadiums, there was a problem, which is that Qatar has a very small area, as the area of Qatar is about 1,570 square kilometers and about 3 million people live in the area, and it makes no sense to build 8 huge stadiums for an event that takes 28 days. And these stadiums will be abandoned because there are not enough people. She is the best. For example, Brazil, when hosting the 2014 World Cup, spent huge sums in order to build stadiums in the which to host matches, and although it's Brazil, but these stadiums were abandoned after they were abandoned. They were not used again. For example, the national stadiums, which was built in the Brazilian capital, a stadium with the capacity of more 72,000 spectators, was spent more than 570 million pounds sterling and was classified as the second most expensive football stadium in history at that time. Amateurs and very few fans enter it. The same thing happened with Greece when they hosted the Olympic Games in 2004. As the stadiums that have been built are so abandoned that weeds and plants are starting to come out of center of the stands. And for this reason, those responsible for the construction of stadiums have implemented an innovative idea. This is the first time that the idea has been applied in the construction of fully collapsible stadiums in Qatar. Stadiums in Qatar have a system of sustainable buildings, where every part in the stadium is useful and can be moved from its place without being damaged. This applies to ceilings, walls, chairs, and even cooling and air conditioning systems in which solar panels are used, all of which are useful needs. As soon as the Qatari government decided to dismantle about 170,000 seats from the stands of the 8 stadiums, they are sent to the developing countries as a gift. It's expected that about 20 stadiums will be built using this number of seats, and we have taken a very quick overview of all the 8 stadiums and the changes that will occur in each of them. The first stadiums is the 974 stadiums, which is considered one of the strangest stadiums that have been built in the modern era, and is considered a very distinctive imprint in the field of sustainable buildings, as the entire stadium is built from shipping containers. It was built by assembling 974 containers side by side in orderly geometric way, which incidentally is the reason for the strange name given to the stadiums, which is 974. This is the number of containers that were used, and by chance, the international code for calling that state of Qatar is 974. The stadium is located in Ras Aboud area, next to Doha Port. and after dismantling these containers will be used again in trade and maritime navigation. The roof and metal beams located next to the stadiums will be they are working on other construction projects in Qatar itself. The stadium will be converted into a commercial site. As for the rest of the Lusail Stadium, which is the largest stadium in the second stadium, because it can accommodate more than 80,000 spectators, which will witness the World Cup finals. Its seats will not be removed. The upper tiers of the building will be converted to residential units, and the lower part will be converted to facilities serving the entire city of Lusail, including shops, cafes, schools, and clinics. As for the external structure of the stadiums, it will remain preserved as it is a memory of the special World Cup of proof the wow success of the championship to increase the pride of Qatar children over the ingenuity of their country. As for Al Bayt Stadium, the stadium that hosted the opening match, which is the second largest stadiums in the group, with a capacity of about 68,000 spectators. This construction is characterized by the fact that it is in the form of a large tent covering the entire stadium. After the end of the tournament, the number of the stadium seats will be reduced to about 32,000 seats, and the upper part of it will be converted into a 5-star hotel, a shopping center, and a sports medicine hospital. The first stadium is Al Thumama Stadium, and the distinctive thing in that its designer is the Qatari architect Ibrahim Al-Jida, and the design is Mustafa full headdress or skull cap, which is considered a traditional costume for Qatar and a number of Arab countries. After the end of the championship, a branch of a hospital specializing in orthopedics and sport medicines will be established inside the stadium, and a small hotel will be built in the place of the upper stands. Also, the number of seats in the stadium it will be reduced from 44,000 to 20,000 seats. As for the stadium of the educational city, which is built in the shape of a diamond, and where its destination consists of a number of triangles and overlapping geometric shapes. It's a building in the Middle East of a group of universities in the Qatar International Center for Excellence. That is why that government will give it as a gift to university sport teams after the World Cup games are over. It will become a permanent center for the Qatar national sovereign team, and the number of seats will be reduced also from 44,000 to 20,000 seats. As for the South Stadium, which was considered as the first stadium built from the new stadiums, it's designed by the famous Iraqi architect Zaha Hadid. And the stadium is shaped like a shell, and its frame is inspired by the shells of the traditional boats, since it's a stadium built in the city of Waqra, where the inhabitants are distinguished by their long history of fishing and searching for pearls. The most special thing about the stadium is that it's fully air conditioning, although the surface of the stadium is open. This is based on the idea that hot air is lighter than cold air, so it exits the stadium and the cold air decreases, so it remains in the stadium. This is what distinguishes the South Stadium very much, because the conditions at the stadium are ideal regardless of the temperature outside the air-conditioned stadium. Besides, the cooling devices in the whole stadium are subject to dismantling, and it's expected that they will be transferred after the championship, and it's possible to give it to the countries that will host the World Cup in 2026, namely America, Canada, and Mexico. And it is possible that the capacity of the stadium will be modified from 44,000 to 20,000 seats, and it will be converted to a permanent center of Al Waqra Sports Club. As for Ahmed bin Ali Stadium, which is located in the Al Afai Al Rayyan area, west of Doha, The design of the stadium reflects the local culture and traditions of the residents of the area. This is because its external destination resembles the ripples of sand dunes. After the end of the World Cup, it will become the home of the Qatar club Al Rayyan, and the number of seats in the stadium will be reduced from 45 to 20,000 of seats. The last stadium, the Khalifa International Stadium, which is located in Doha, is the only stadium that will remain the same without dismantling because the stadium is considered by Qataris to be an ancient culture and social heritage, as it has hosted the long list of sports events since its first launch in 1976.